Welcome back to part 2 of this solution set. We are up to question number 9 and we begin. Question 9. The time in Rio is 3 hours behind London. The time in New York is 5 hours behind London. What is the time in New York when it is 1 AM in Rio? Right, I'm going to put these cities onto a number line so I can track what time is changing. So we've got London. Now when we've got London, we know that Rio is 3 hours behind London. So if we go back 3 hours, that will tell us the time in Rio. Now New York is 5 hours behind London. So once again, from London, going back this time 5 hours, that will give us the time in New York. Now, it is 1 AM in Rio. So in Rio, it's going to be 1 AM. Now you have a choice of how you finish this. You could work out what time it is in London. So if it's 1 AM in Rio and that's 3 hours behind London, that means London must be 4 AM. And then from London, we can go backwards 5 hours to get to New York. Well, if I go back 4 hours, that takes me to midnight. So I have to go back another hour extra. So in New York, it will be 11 PM. That's going to be our answer, 11 PM. The second way we could have done that is you could have recognised that if Rio is 3 hours behind London and New York is 5 hours behind London, you might have been able to realise that New York is going to be 2 hours behind Rio. So you could have just taken 2 hours off 1 AM. It still takes you to 11 PM. Question 10. Here is a list of numbers. Work out the median. The median is the middle number in an ordered list. So the first thing we need to do is place this list in order. The safest way to do that in a methodical, strategic manner is to start with the smallest number, which is a 1, and I'm going to write it underneath this list just so I can keep track of how many numbers I've used and make sure that I've used them all. So once I've written the number 1, I'm going to cross it off so that I know I've used it and I don't end up repeating myself. We've got 2 2s. So the 2 is going to go next, and then they will get crossed off. I've got a 3, that goes. I've got a 4, that goes. I've got 3 5s, so 1, 2, 3 5s. I have a 6, and I have an 8, and it's the last one because I've crossed the rest out. So I know that I've used all the numbers and I know that I've not repeated myself. The median is going to be in the middle. Okay, now since I'm going to need these numbers, normally I would say cross off the first, cross off the last, but I actually cross through normally, but I'm going to need these numbers for part B. So cross off the first, cross off the last, cross off the first, last, and that leaves me with 2 numbers in the middle, a 4 and a 5. The median is the number directly in the centre of those. Now, usually it's quite obvious what the number in the middle is. So in the middle of 4 and 5 is 4.5. If it's not obvious, you can make sure that you add those numbers together. So 4 plus 5 is 9. And then what you get as the answer, you can half, you can divide that by 2, and it should give you the exact same answer. That is the number in the middle. So the median's 4.5. 10b, work out the mean. So when we're working out the mean, that's where we add up all the numbers and then divide by however many numbers we had. So 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 3, 4, 5, 5, 5, 6 and 8 all adds up to give 41. There are 10 numbers, which means I'm dividing that by 10, and so my mean is 4.1. Question 11. 300 passengers go on a coach trip. Each coach takes 50 passengers. Each passenger pays £25. I'll say that again. Each passenger pays £25. The table shows the cost for the coach company, and so the pay for the driver of each coach is £90, and it costs 70 pence per mile for fuel, and each coach is going to travel 200 miles. And we need to work out the total profit the company makes from this trip. In order to work out profit, we need to work out how much money they're taking in, or their income, and then we also need to work out how much money they're paying out. So first of all, let's work out how much money they're taking in. So there are 300 passengers, and each passenger is going to pay £25. So their income is going to be 300 multiplied by 25. Easiest way to do that is to say 25 times 3 is 75, and there are 2 zeros, which means we are taking in £7,500. Now we need to work out how much we're paying out. Now we've got the price for each coach. We need to work out how many coaches we're going to need. So there are 300 passengers, and there are 50 passengers for each of the coaches. So if we do 300 divided by 50, ask ourselves how many 50s are in 300, we'll get that there must be 6 coaches. So we've got the cost for each coach. We are also going to need to therefore work out the cost for 6 coaches. So £90 for each coach for the driver. If we've got 6 of them, we're doing 90 times 6. Well, 9 times 6 is 54, and there is 1 0 to put on the end, so that's going to have a total of £540. For the fuel, we're paying 70 pence per mile. Now we're travelling 200 miles, so we're having to do 200 times by 70 pence. Okay, so 70 pence. 2 times 7 is 14, and there are a total of 3 zeros, and that's pence. There are 100 pence in each pound, so if I divide this by 100, that will take me to £140 for each coach. There are 6 coaches, so I'm doing 6 times by 140, which is 840. So in total, the amount that we're paying out is these two numbers added together. Okay, so 0, 8 and 13. So we've got our income of £7,500, we've got our expenditure of 1,380, and so we just need to do 7,500, and we need to take the £1,380 away to work that out. So that's going to be £6,120 profit. Question 12. Work out 16.4 minus 3.92 plus 7.8. Right, subtraction first. I'm doing 16.4 minus 3.92. Right, when we're subtracting these, since I've got a blank space here, that's going to be a 0. And 0 minus 2 I can't do, so I'm going to borrow 1 from the 4, that becomes a 3, and that's now 10 minus 2, which is 8. 3 minus 9 I can't do, so I'm going to borrow 1 from the 6, that's now a 5, and 13 minus 9 is 4. Make sure the decimal point goes in. 5 minus 3 is 2, 1 minus 0 is 1. Now we need to do 12.48, and we need to add 7.8. Well, 8 and nothing is 8. 4 and 8 is 12, so 2 down carrying 1. 7 plus 2 plus 1 is 10. 0 down carry 1, and 1 plus 1 is 2. Make sure I've got my decimal point in there, so that's 20.28. Part B, 2,843.61 divided by 7. Just as before, this is just a division. Doesn't matter how big the number is or how many different digits it's got. It's just one number at a time that we're going to divide by 7. So how many 7s can I get out of 2? None. There's nothing above that 2. I tend to put a dotted 0. You can leave it blank if you wish. We haven't used any of these 2, so that's moving on to the 8. That's now 28. How many 7s are in 28? 4, with nothing left over. Moving on to the next number then, 7 into 4. How many 7s are in 4? None. We haven't used any of these 4, so that's going to move on to make this as 43. How many 7s are in 43? Well, 6 7s is 42, which means out of 43 there is 1 that we didn't use. The 1's going to move over to the 16. Decimal point needs to go in, make sure that lines up. How many 7s are in 16? Well, 2 7s is 14, which means I've got 2 left over. And how many 7s are in 21? That's 3. That's going to be the end of part 2. We'll carry on with question 13 in the next parts.